Joining us now from our Abuja studio is Public Affairs Analyst Comrade Bala Zakka. Good morning. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you. Thank you. And good morning, viewers.
Good morning. What is going on with this fuel scarcity again? Is it a case of marketers' blackmail, or is it a case of official incompetence?
I think it's a case of leadership and official incompetence, and you can quote me on that. I'm saying this because when you talk about leaders are actually people that citizens have willingly handed over their economic, political, and social destiny for them to manage in national interest. And if they are not managing it well, I mean, the only thing that you can say is there is probably leadership incompetence or docility, as far as I am concerned.
All right.
Yeah, can you please expatiate on that?
Okay, okay, let me expatiate. Okay, like we're talking about right now. I mean, whenever you talk about leaders, there are two basic things that you require from your leaders. The first one is security, and the next one is energy. Between you and I, if you have security and you have energy, virtually everything will go well. Because if you have security, that means people can move around. People can carry out their activities, whether economic or social or even political activities. When you have security in a country, investors can come in because they will be guaranteed, security of their investment. Then the next one is energy. Energy is virtually everything. Without energy, there will be no mobility. And if there is no mobility, then you can't build the GDP of a country. So as far as I'm concerned, we don't have security in this country. We are suffering from business climate hostilities because one of the indices causing the hostilities is insecurity. Then when you talk about energy, again, we are experiencing serious energy crisis in Nigeria. And when you look at also the different sectors, the energy sector is not working as far as I'm concerned. The health sector is not working. The education sector is not working. When you look at virtually all the sectors, no sector appears to be working. So personally, I will put the blame at the door of leaders and leadership.
Well, Comrade Zakka, the subsidy regime is one that continues to calls for provision of the market forces. But I wonder just how problematic do you think the fact that the NNPC remains the sole importer of crude is?
Well, you see, there is a very big mistake that Nigerians are making when you're talking about this issue of subsidy. The first thing is, why can't we even define what subsidy is? Let's just simply define subsidy. My definition is this: subsidy is a globally accepted or a universally accepted pain cushioning concept. That is what subsidy is all about. You're supposed to cushion the economic pains of citizens. And from that definition, if subsidy is not working in Nigeria, that will never in any way invalidate the meaning and definition of subsidy. But when you are talking about subsidy in this context, I want to believe you are talking about probably PMS, that we popularly call petrol. And all I can tell you is I am very, very happy that the government of this country or our economic or political leaders decided to be removing subsidy in stages. And that's what gladdens my heart. Okay, they've removed subsidy on diesel. They've removed subsidy on kerosene. They've removed subsidy on aviation fuel. Before removing subsidy on diesel, they came up with all kinds of reasons. please, I will want somebody to give me one benefit that we have derived from the removal of subsidy on the price of diesel.
Right.
As far as I'm
Comrade
concerned,
Zakka.
with the removal.
Comrade Zakka, let me put you on hold, and now we can now connect with Comrade Akin Akinmade, the chairman of IPMAN here in Lagos. So a lot has been said, and even IPMAN has, of course, been talking specifically on the issue on its position that the current fuel price isn't sustainable for its own operations. But then there are concerns. Let me first hear you out on this point. And if indeed that is so, the government could, what about fears that the government could sanction your body? Please respond to this and other issues.
Well, thank you for having me. If I get you clearly, you want to know the position of my association. Can you hear me now?
You're live, you're loud and clear. Carry on, please.
Okay. The current scarcity that we have, as far as our association is concerned, is neither about stock nor about deregulation. Even though we have taken a position that the ultimate is for us to deregulate. And good enough, government has deregulated kerosene, deregulated PMS. But the current scarcity that we have today, especially in the Lagos and Southwest area, is as a result of the failure of the system. And by this I mean, ordinarily, our members are supposed to be serviced by NNPC through their depots. But these depots have not functioned in the last 8 months, right? And because of this, we have to contend with dealing with private depots. But of recent, the private depots have at their prices such that the template given by government can no longer work with our members. So the decision of our members to shut their station is just personal business decisions of various marketers. Because if you have to buy and the landing cost at your facility will be 175, you are not expected to sell at 165. I mean, if you soon run out of business. Try that. So what we have on ground now is personal business decisions of our members. That because due to the price that we are buying at the private depots, we cannot sell at the government price of 165. And that's where we are saying the government should come to our aid by supplying at their facility. Ordinarily, in their facility, we are supposed to buy at the rate of 148 naira 17 kobo. Now we are buying 162 naira from the private depot. By the time you add the cost of transportation, handling charges at the depot, the running cost in your station, there's no way anybody will be able to sell at 165. So we have just taken business decision that if we cannot make profit,
Comrade Akinmade,
take your money.
Comrade, how long has this situation been with the private depots that the prices have jumped up to 162? How did it get to that situation, and how long has it been? Has it been in that case? And how? Let's just answer this one before other question.
Well, like I said, the NNPC depots stopped functioning sometimes in December 2021. And since then, we've been patronizing the private depots. And gradually, they've been pushing up their prices. Initially, we started with like 150, 151. And like I said, in the last 2 weeks, it's jumped to 159, 161, 150, and now 162. By the time we looked at it and discovered that, well, we cannot make any profit. That's why we said that everybody should decide what to do. And our members have decided that if we cannot break even, we should not be running at losses.
So the problem is with NNPC. Is that what you are saying? That the problem is actually with NNPC by shutting down its warehouses? Exactly.
The problem is with NNPC. And we have advised them, if they have problem with their pipeline, they can arrange. I mean, we all know that it's only NNPC that is importing petrol that we call PMS, and they are the ones supplying these private depots. We have advised that they should designate one of these depots that is not functioning, or even have an arrangement with some of these private depots to designate one particular depot to independent petroleum marketers, so that we will be buying at government regulated price of 148 naira 17 kobo, and it will be essentially programs that now be released through NNPC and through our depots. If they can do that and we are able to pay in 148 naira 17 kobo, I mean, there's no way we won't be able to sell at 165. But at the current rate, we cannot sell at 165. That's our position.
Comrade Zakka, I'm sure you're following this feedback from Comrade Akin Akinmade. What do you make of his position so far?
Well, thank you for that question. To be honest, I'm not even interested in the question and that kind of position, because for me to accept, based on my level of exposure and experience and knowledge of the global oil and gas industry, that simply means we have even accepted that the model the government is using for energy provision in Nigeria is correct. And honestly, I'm sorry to say that everything about that discussion doesn't make sense to me. Because you're talking, let us go Nigeria now, and speak as Nigerians. You're talking about somebody who produces beans and will always want to go out and buy akara or moi moi. It doesn't make sense to me. You're talking about a major producer of cassava going out to buy ordinary gari. It will not make sense to me, because by towing that line that you are using to ask those questions, it means we have accepted that importation is the way to go. But it is very, very unfortunate. I wish people know that Nigeria is an emerging economy. Nigeria is actually a very poor country. Nigeria has a very weak currency, and Nigeria has a population of more than 200 million citizens. And in addition to those 200 million citizens, you are talking about Nigeria having strategic industrial sectors, strategic domestic sectors, and strategic commercial sectors relying on less than 10,000 megawatts of electricity. By the time you look at all this, nobody needs to tell you that we are going to have energy crisis. I thought we were going to address the issue of the energy crisis, not to want to justify a Petroleum Industry Act that predicates everything on the downstream, on importation. I mean, to me, that's poisonous. You're talking about a country with this level of endowment. And as we're talking, you're talking about a country whose citizens is glamorously the ones pretending
we'll come back to you very shortly. Comrade Zakka, we'll come back to you very shortly. But I understand we have the chairman of the IPMAN Lagos back with us, and he has another engagement. Let's see how we can get back to Comrade Akin. Comrade Akin, I was asking just a moment ago, what's the next price peg you think marketers will push for? What have you agreed as an association to sell the official pump price at this time?
Thank you very much. As an association, we have not agreed on any price. All we know is that we cannot sell below, now, we cannot sell below 180 naira per liter in the Lagos area. We cannot sell below 180 naira per liter. And that depends on variables, because we can never tell. The major, the private depots may shoot up their price again, that will make the 180 naira unrealistic again. But let me comment on the statement made by Comrade Bala. That is looking at it from the roots, and I agree with him. Nigerians will now have to wake up and ensure that the government takes the step towards revamping our refineries.
Just before you head to that direction, are you saying your association is going to flout the instructions of the government, who has insisted that the official pump price should go at 165 naira per litre?
That's why I said, as an association, we have not made any pronouncement on that. But by business calculation, we cannot sell below 180. And because we did not, we didn't want to go against government template. That's why our members withdrew. And that's why we did not replenish. Because we did not replenish, we have about 80-85% of filling stations around. There's no way we withdraw our services because we are being forced to, and the people in Nigeria do not feel it. That is what is playing out here now. As an association, we have not said, we have not told anybody, go and sell a so price.
Okay, let me direct this question now to Comrade Zakka. A lot has been said, and of course, you've also stated your own situation, your own position now. But where does that leave us as a country? Of course, there is the lingering concern that the common man will continue to bear this brunt. But where does that leave us in terms of quick solutions while we, of course, put our eyes on the bigger picture?
Well, the solution is just to go in one direction. The model that we are using for the Nigerian oil and gas industry, especially downstream, is the wrong model. I'm just telling you this because, people cannot just understand why Nigeria is looking so shameless when it comes to energy provision. I'm telling you, Libya refines, Saudi Arabia refines, China refines, Indonesia refines, Malaysia refines. Then you have a country like Nigeria, the biggest producer of crude oil in Africa, and probably having the highest or the quantity of gas reserve, cannot provide basic energy. People don't understand that after security, the next thing you require is energy. It's not roads, it's not hospital, because without roads, without energy, you can't drive activities. If you construct hospitals today and there is no electricity, how can you carry out operations? When you have universities and schools and you want to go to the lab and work and there is no energy. So it's so shameful, but let us go back to that deregulation. The deregulation is also something that makes me feel terrible. When you talk about economic restructuring mechanisms of a country, sectors can be deregulated and they will work. Sectors can be commercialized and they will work. Sectors can be liberalized and they will work. Sectors can be privatized and they will work. But you need to look at the sector before applying the restructuring mechanism. A typical example is telecoms. I hear a lot of people saying the telecom sector was deregulated. It wasn't. It was liberalized. Okay, let's dwell on the deregulation of the price of distillates. Every time I use the word distillates, I'm technically referring to refined petroleum products, diesel, kerosene, and the rest. I'm happy the government started the deregulation in stages. Let anybody today among citizens and even government officials today point out one benefit that we have derived from the deregulation of the price of diesel. The only thing we have experienced is collapse of all the strategic sectors.
Okay.
That I said this year.
Okay, we want to go to Mr. or Comrade Akin Akinmade now. Mr. Akinmade, the whole thing points down to the NNPC. Have you guys in any way decided or even made any effort to tell the NNPC to take these things from the private depot? Because the private depot seems to be profiteering from what you're going. Is there any way that you can take it back to the NNPC so that the prices can normalize? Because we are seeing here a case in which some private hands are causing problems for every Nigerian who is moving around on the streets.
We're actually engaging with the authorities. In fact, there was a meeting with the NSA yesterday in Abuja. I understand the MD of PPMC is equally in Lagos now. They actually contacted us But unfortunately, I stepped out of Lagos yesterday. As I'm talking to you now, I'm talking to you as out of Lagos. Right? And I believe that today we should be able to meet with them again and fashion out how we will go around this, and things will be easier for Nigerians.
Why would you have private depots when the NNPC has its depot that was working at the price? So is it not a way of creating unnecessary middleman in order to jack up the price of fuel?
Well, we all know that we've had issues with the pipelines through vandalization. And those who are vandalizing this pipeline are Nigerians too. So Nigerians have part of the blame. We've had issues in Lagos, Barua. You remember the Barua fire explosion the other day. It was because of vandalization. And those people that are vandalizing are Nigerians. They stay within us, right? Yes, you can say what we are experiencing is failure of leadership. Failure of leadership preceding this administration. It's just that this administration has not summoned the political will to address it the way it should be addressed. NNPC depot cannot be used today because the lines are ruptured or been vandalized. But we've had arrangement before when we have this kind of problem where marketers of independent petroleum marketers association are moved to the private depots, and NNPC will supply product there, and we will raise our tickets, pay to NNPC, and we'll go and load at those private depots. That is the arrangement we want them to put in place for us now. Let them get or designate a private depot through whatever arrangement they used to make. It's not the first time we are making that arrangement. Put fuel there for us. We will pay the actual government loading price of 148 naira 17 kobo. We will load there. It's still Lagos area. With that, we will be able to sell at 165, and nobody will complain.
All right, Comrade Akin Akinmade, we thank you for your contributions on the program. You've spoken about engagement with critical stakeholders, including the NNPC. We do hope that some form of more clarity is given at this really trying times. Thanks again. But back to you, Comrade Zakka. I want to hear your take now on, this issue recurring of leakages of, are we having hoarding? Some have said this is also kind of artificial. Are we having like a diversion somewhat? Another way of asking is Nigeria or are Nigerians really consuming as much fuel as is being touted?
Thank you for those questions. The truth is our political or economic leaders have run out of excuses. There was a time they were talking about the coronavirus or the COVID. They talked about smuggling. They talked about people having too many cars. They talked about panic buying. They came up, even recently, they were talking about the Russia-Ukraine crisis. Honestly, they've run out of options. All these things are not correct. We're just using the wrong model. And I'm sorry, let me just come in. I'm not supposed to talk for Ipman, but even the question you asked Ipman, you were not fair to Ipman. You need to understand that Ipman is a private concern. Private concerns are after profit maximization and cost minimization. It's the government of a country that will be after provision of goods and services. So when you will be asking the private depot why they are doing this, in the first place, private depots are supposed to maximize profits. So nobody needs to tell government about that. We are talking about a country that has the crude raw material here. What you need to do is to get this crude oil from the wellheads within Nigeria in Naira. Fix your refineries. Move them to your respective refineries in Naira. Refine them in Naira. Distribute them in Naira. The first thing that will do to you is it will first of all free you from exchange rate pressures and foreign currency pressures. Because outside Nigeria, the Nigerian Naira is not an international currency. Look at the rate at which the Naira is getting weak. And as I speak to you now, before we went to the Comrade, company income tax this year will go down. based on what is happening to diesel. We deregulated diesel. Let anybody point out one benefit. Have we seen money to construct roads? Have we been able to settle ASU? Have we been able to fix the hospitals? Go to aviation and see what is happening. We are only experiencing mass sack, cancellation of flights and flight delays. And as people continue to get fired, I tell you, personal income tax will also go down. At the end of the day, the overall GDP of Nigeria will sink.
Bala, Zakka, we thank you very much. We've run out of time, but thank you so much for the much you have been able to pass across to us on this really burning issue. We do hope to speak with you again some other time, and of course, hopefully on a positive note. Right. Right. Thanks again, Comrade Zakka. A lot has been said. Comrade Zakka very emphatic on his stance that what we have or what we are running on is obviously not sustainable, and this might just be yet another episode of many others if we don't do the needful.
What is emphasizing is the long-term fundamental problem with the oil industry. But what we want to do is, what do we do at this moment to stop the problem on the streets where there's a long queue? And what the Ipman guy is saying is that, there's no way we can go ahead with this business unless we are just going to ruin our businesses if we collect the fuel at a certain price and you want us to sell it
and it's all about business.
At the loss. They can't sell it as a loss. Now the question is, it says that the NNPC decided to get these private depots because take them to private depots, and the private depots are increasing their price. Increasing their prices from 151, and suddenly it has now jumped to about 162. How did it jump to 162? And why is it that the NNPC's depots have been shut down? I said about 80 of them or so.
Leaving them at the mercy of the depots.
Yes. So they have to. The NNPC has to come. They also mentioned the fact that part of the problem is the pipeline vandalization, which we have had all this time. It is not our problem that if the citizens are not behaving well, it is the job of the government to make sure that the pipelines are okay. If they are not okay, we cannot suffer the consequences of criminality in society, because their job is not only to supply us, their job is also to make sure that the society is free of criminals. They are failed in both crime, and therefore we are now suffering the consequences of the crime.
So, Mr. President responded yesterday about the fuel scarcity and why that cannot be removed anytime soon because of the harsh consequences of Nigerians. It was good to see the president respond, but then,
there's no solution in sight.
There's no solution in sight. This is already a transitional phase.
It's a quagmire.
Look, Nigerians deserve better. Nigerians deserve absolutely better.
This is a critical sector that affects every other sector. So indeed, we do look forward, to more answers, more solutions. Gentlemen, it's just time for us to go and end this. We will, of course, have another day tomorrow, and of course the next for more on TVC Breakfast. We thank you very much for staying with us all this while. And we also must tell you once again that the views and reactions of all our resource persons on the show today are theirs and have no connection at all with TVC News.